We're back. We started tonight by talking about the anger at Wall Street and at politicians for not being able to work together. Now we're going to turn to a different time when compromise wasn't a dirty word. Robert Strauss was known as the ultimate Democratic power broker during the 1970s and 80s. He was able to broker deals with his Republican counterparts, also calling many of them his friends. In fact, George Herbert Walker Bush, the first President Bush, wrote this in a letter to Strauss back in October of '74. It reads in part, "Strauss, you old bastard, you'll never believe this. I miss our jousts and our leisure time of pleasantness. Hang in pleasantly. Best to all at DNC. But dawn, damn it, lose. As Barbara sends her love." Best GB, that's George Bush. So what skills can today's politicians learn from guys like Strauss? Catherine McGarr is the great niece of Robert Strauss, and she's written the great book, The Whole Damn Deal, which is Strauss's description of what he liked about his job. Robert Strauss and the Art of Politics. Thank you so much, Catherine, for coming on. I just want to talk to you about this situation last night. And this is right, classic Strauss situation. Here's last night on the Senate floor. Here's Harry Reid, the Democratic leader, talking about how personal politics has become. How personal.
We should be able to move matters through here that have been happening since the beginning of this country. Nominations, for example. We can't do that because my friend, the Republican leader, as candid as he was, said his number one goal is to defeat President Obama. And that's what's been going on for 9 months here. Let's get back to legislating as we did before the mantra around here was defeat Obama.
You know, Catherine, what's been happening the last couple of days in Washington, I keep hearing it now more than ever. Boehner is now saying the president's no good. He's not a leader anymore. There you got Reid saying that the Republican leader, McConnell's just out to ditch Obama. It's dry gulch politics. It's get rid of the other guy. It's not try to find a deal. Right. Why did they even bother coming to Washington together? They don't want to meet each other. That's where it's at.
Bob Strauss's kind of politics. And, you know, he was a chairman of the DNC when George H.W. Bush was chairman of the RNC. So they should have been political enemies, and that's when George H.W. Bush wrote that letter that you read from. And then he went on to be confirmed in the Senate to be Carter's special trade representative, and this was going from a place of extreme partisanship at the DNC to a love fest basically on the Senate floor, because he did have friends across the aisle, and it was an easy nomination. And then one of the biggest trade bills in history, he got the Tokyo round passed in 1979, unprecedented 90-4 vote in the Senate. And this was not an uncontroversial bill. That was a feat.
I remember the MTN deal. I know all about it. It was one of his great accomplishments. Let me ask you about this. A lot of people watch this show are true believers. They're progressives. Some of them are moderates, but a lot of them are progressives. How can you have deep political beliefs and the kind of country you want to live in, and at the same time get along with people who disagree with you? How do you do both at the same time?
It's a fine line, and Bob, in part, he didn't do both because he was a patriot, and as you know, and he really loved this country, and he believed in doing the best, and he believed in democratic values, but he was not an ideologue, and I think that's the difference between believing in policy and being such an ideologue that you can't even see the other side. Bob could always see the other side, and he always thought it was better to compromise and get maybe 80% of what you want, instead of some of the vitriol you see going on today where people, they only want 100% or nothing.
Well, you're all right. Bob Strauss, by the way, one time I was carrying a ton of stuff at the Democratic Convention back in '72 down in Miami. It was 100 degrees out, and I would have had to walk a mile to find a door that was open. Along comes a guy and says, "Let this kid in this door." That was Bob Strauss. Another time I was about to fly with Jimmy for the Carter campaign all the way from Philly to Pittsburgh in the worst wind I've ever seen, and we're in the smallest plane I've ever seen. And Bob Strauss comes along and says, "Get us a bigger plane." I do remember these. Great man. You're his niece?
Yes, his grandniece. His brother, Ted Strauss, is my grandfather.
Well, I got to tell you, great man. The book's called The Whole Damn Deal. If you love politics and you love getting things done in this country and care about the country, this is the guy to read about. Thank you, Catherine McGarr, for coming on.